Hey guys, this is Hayden Chance. I wanted to do a video for you guys today um, about a topic that I see all the time in the groups, and even in our group, people are always asking about spreads. You know, how do you use spreads? How do you develop spreads? What's a good spread to use in a certain situation? How are you supposed to read the cards when you throw them down? And I have I've used spreads in my years of doing readings for people. I've developed my own spreads. There's two I like to use. There's one that's a wheel. It's present, past, present, future, underlying influences, fears, hopes, things like that. Outcome. I use that sometimes still. And then there's a Russian one I use for playing cards. That's specific, but for the most part, and usually when I do readings, I use another method, and I'm going to show you guys how to sort of liberate yourself from the need of having a spread or binding yourself to a spread, okay? So think about it this way. You can use any oracle you like. You can use cards, you can use stones, runes. You can even use crystal balls for this method, or even if you read people's, auras, by building a sentence out of the images or the energies that you get. Okay, I'll show you how to do that. And then you can do any reading anytime for anyone without worrying about, do you have the right spread or not. Okay, so let's say, for example, you've got someone who comes to you, and he's a guy, and he's like, okay, I just met this girl, and I want to know if she's right for me. Okay, so let's say first we got, the Jack. It's going to be him, Ace of Hearts. We got Ace of Clubs, 9. Okay, 10, and then you go until you feel like you have to sort of be intuitive about this. You have to totally be intuitive about this. You can't use this approach any other way, okay? So let's say you go until you feel it's done, and you're probably going to be doing, I don't know if you guys have ever read for someone where they were asking you lots of questions, or there's a lot of stuff going on, and you just started throwing the cards down one after another, and you didn't really have time for a spread. Well, that's kind of how I got into this method. People just start asking questions, especially if you're doing like 40, 50 people in a night, and you got to keep shuffling and laying out a spread. It's crazy. This really liberates you. Okay, so the guy comes to you, he's like, hey, is this girl good for me? And you go, okay, well, here's this dude, and you know that he's dark and angry, okay, and somewhat from something, okay. He wants to fall in love, though. He wants a new love, or there's a possibility of a new love here, right? But now I'm seeing this could be the lucky card, but going along with this, I'm feeling like it doesn't feel like he's open to the possibility of his own luck, which means that he's standing in the way of his own treasure and his own happiness. And he really does have the possibility with this person, but he has to change things over into a completely new dynamic from what he normally does in a relationship. Okay, so it means he's really got to flip it around here for it to be successful. So you see what I did? It's just like each one. Let's start with the Jack. Okay, each one is sort of like a piece of a sentence. So when I do this, I'm looking for the subject, the verb, and what the subject is acting, or the object. Okay, so sometimes the subject will come in the middle too, right? It's like, so you'd read it like this. Then you'd go, okay, well, there's I see that you're really looking for new happiness, but there's sort of anger, and it doesn't seem like things go the way you want. It seems like when you start to get what you want, your own anger causes a change in things, and then you start over. So I might say that this individual really likes to have new beginnings because they give him an excuse to start over and have a new experience without ever having to manage the anger or stuff he's got going on inside that prevents him from being able to really open up to another person. Does that make sense? If that makes sense. You see? So I'm looking in here for where the subject falls, where the verbs fall, and what the object is. And I'm looking a way to string them together like a sentence, then maybe that into a paragraph, that into a story. Okay? Let me show you another example from the tarot. Same thing. Okay, so you got the tarot here, right? Let's say we got. Okay, so the same guy comes. It's like, okay, well, there's an opportunity here. Okay, for this guy to end his loneliness. Okay, he's a hermit, right? He wants to really have his own thing going. He wants to start a family. He wants to have his own kingdom. He wants to have his own sort of thing happening that he really hasn't had up to this point, because of some broken hearts or endings that have happened in his life. He's ended some stuff, especially with a woman. Okay, so this, I would say, because it falls next to this, is like, well, there's an ending with a woman that's still on his mind, still in his heart, and it sort of prevents him from seeing things clearly. He brings that baggage in, and it sort of stands in the way of him getting his wish, even though his wish keeps coming to him. And then the result is less than satisfactory every time, which then goes back and reinforces his excuse. So this sort of reads the same way as the other one went, okay? Just as an example. Okay, then maybe, let's say you can do it with any oracle, any, here's my black cat oracle. So let's say a guy comes and says, is this woman the one for me? And you go, okay, your pride gets in the way of your being able to relate to women time and time again, and it causes problems between the two of you because you act self-centered about it and don't really consider her feelings, and you become sort of the central theme. It becomes all about you, and you have a very narrow focus, and that stands in the way of you really getting the happiness that you want. Okay, so for example, so that's how you do that. You can do it with any oracle. Like I said, those of you who have done runes, you probably see a similarity, because runes they're like letters in a sentence, and they sort of build out that way. Like I said, if you're reading in a teacup, or you're reading someone's aura, you start to get images. You take those images and you start to put them together in a sentence and build them out to make a story. So in this practice, what you want to do is you want to take these images, impressions, and you want to put them together in a sentence that builds a story, and you want to tell them the story. Now, like I said, you got to read this intuitively, and you got to read off the person that you're reading for, okay? So their energy is going to help you too, and then you can interact with them and ask them questions based on it. So, maybe you don't want to say, you're coming up really self-centered here. It's like, well, when's the last time you considered, a woman's needs, or her dreams, or her hopes? Or you might ask her something like, do you listen very well? What do you do for the women that you date? How do you consider them? How do you make them feel special, for example? That might be a way that you say it. And with this, it's always the way of presenting the language in a way that gets the individual to open up and doesn't get them to put their defenses up. So you can get very accurate with this method and get right to the heart of things very fast without worrying about any spread. And just be aware that it takes some practice on phrasing the sentences in a way that gets people to go, hey, this is true, and it gets them to open up rather than to put their defenses up and go, well, that's not me. Because a lot of times when you hit on who they really are doing this, they'll throw their defenses up, and they don't want to admit that that's, for example, in this case, like, the guy is responsible for his own relationship woes. We never really want to admit that we are the source of our own happiness or our own shortcomings. So I hope that helps, and I hope you guys have got a new method maybe here of doing readings. Experiment with it, try it, let me know how it works, and tell me in the comments below how it worked. Give me examples of how it worked or not. And then if you got any questions, put them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to ask them. Remember to keep the subject that we're talking about in mind, just like it's important to keep the question in mind when you do readings for people, so that we can stay clear and on topic. If you have any particular thing that you'd like me to address in a video that I can help with, then go ahead and put that down there too. I'll see if maybe I can come up with something for you guys. Um, and other than that, I hope this helped, and go out there and try it and let me know how it worked.